Hey everyone, it's Leanie. Welcome back to the channel. Happy Monday. Today we are reacting to a video from What If. And this video is called What If a Needle Hit the Earth at the Speed of Light? Make sure to go show What If some love and let's watch this video. I'm very curious what a teeny tiny needle is gonna do to the Earth falling at the speed of light.
There's a needle approaching Earth at the speed of light. A needle?
A needle.
Well, that's no big deal, right?
That's what I'm thinking.
Unfortunately, it's a very big deal.
Is it really?
A needle traveling this fast can cause devastating effects on Earth.
How?
But why? What kind of destruction could this tiny little needle cause?
It's like a tiny needle.
And in what scenario would this be possible?
Okay.
This is What If, and here's what would happen if a needle hit the Earth at the speed of light.
I am so curious.
I'm gonna let you know right away that this is a bad news, good news kind of story.
Okay.
I'll tell you why in a bit, but first, let me explain to you exactly what the speed of light is.
Yes.
Well, the speed of light is how fast light travels. And in empty space, it will always travel at the same speed. You don't need to worry about drag or wind resistance. And it can travel around the Earth 7.5 times in a single second.
What?
If you were traveling at the speed of light, you'd be going very, very, very fast.
Around
No
the
surprise
Earth
there.
7.5 times per second?
How fast would you be going? Well, let's think about this in terms of one of my favorite trips, a ride to the moon.
Yes.
The moon is 386,400 kilometers away from Earth. It takes about 3 days or 69 hours for a spacecraft to go from Earth to the moon.
Dang.
But if you're traveling at the speed of light, this trip takes a mere 1.3 seconds.
Oh.
Zip. Why?
1 second compared to 3 days.
300,000 kilometers per second. The fastest human-made object ever made is the NASA Parker Solar Probe, and that only goes a measly 635,000 kilometers per hour.
Oh my gosh, 394,000 miles per hour.
Nowhere near light speed. Light speed is the fastest speed that exists in the known universe. Nothing is able to travel faster than the speed of light.
Okay.
Which brings us back to the good news part of this scenario. Creating a needle that could travel at the speed of light would be pretty much impossible.
Okay, well, that's good to know.
Einstein's theory of relativity.
Get Einstein.
According to his theory, as an object's speed gets close to the speed of light, its mass increases. And then, even more mind-boggling, time actually slows down.
What? How?
As the mass of the object increases, it would need more and more energy to speed it up. So it gets harder and harder to
go
push
as
the
fast?
object to the speed of light. Basically, you'd need to have an infinite amount of energy to make this happen. But let's say an advanced alien civilization was
able to do
get
that?
close to figuring out this physics problem.
Okay.
Instead of 100% of the speed of light, they've engineered a way to make a needle travel at 99.9% of the speed of light.
Okay.
Bam! Take that, Einstein. Okay, but what happens next? Well, you know that a needle is much, much tinier than Earth.
For sure.
I try and tell you how much tinier, it'd be too hard to get all those zeros on the screen. But
yeah,
you get the idea. And because of its enormous speed, it's carrying a huge amount of kinetic energy. Kind of like a bullet. It may be tiny, but it can still do some serious harm because of the speed it's traveling at.
Yeah.
So let's take a look at what happens when this needle hits Earth. What if it landed in the most beautiful spot in New York?
Oh, not Times Square.
Nah, I'm not talking about Times Square. I'm talking about Central Park. As
My
the
favorite
needle
place
hurtled
ever.
through our atmosphere, there would be an enormous amount of friction generated. Now, we've seen spaceships ignite upon re-entry into Earth's atmosphere because of friction and heat in the air. Well, there's the possibility this needle would begin burning up too and disintegrating due to this enormous friction. But let's assume it keeps going.
Okay.
This fiery little needle would hit the park with a massive explosion. The impact would release a significant amount of energy that would radiate out as heat, light, and a massive shockwave.
Crazy to think a needle can do that.
One estimate calculates that the energy released will be over 100 times the amount of energy from an exploding nuclear bomb.
Holy crap.
Trees, the grass, people
Everything's
in the park
just
would
burning.
be instantly incinerated by the enormous heat of the explosion. The tall buildings surrounding the park and further away in New York City would collapse like falling Jenga towers.
Yikes.
Fires would start and everything would start to burn. The explosion itself would create a giant fireball and a shockwave that would pulse out in waves. But shockwave wouldn't just shake New York City. It would be massive enough to rock nearby states like New Jersey.
Oh, dang, okay.
The ground would shift beneath our feet. The energy released would be equal to the
Is this
power
gonna
of an
leave a
earthquake
massive
that's about
crater? Because I feel like it
7.3 on the
is.
Richter scale.
Oh, dang,
We've
okay.
had one like this before on Earth.
We sure
In
have.
1906, an earthquake that measured 7.9 on the Richter
Was this
scale
San
hit San
Francisco?
Francisco.
Yep.
It destroyed over 28,000 buildings and killed more than 700
Gotta love
people.
California.
Would the impact of the needle on land cause worldwide destruction?
Is it gonna go out the other side?
And we'll get to that a little later, but
Oh my
it's
gosh,
also
okay.
possible that the destruction caused would be limited to the point where the needle strikes and the surrounding areas. So if you're living on the other side of the globe,
You're safe?
you might just be lucky enough to avoid the horrific consequences.
Okay.
Okay, now let's get back to our fiery, light-speeding needle, because things only get wilder when it hits the ocean.
Oh no. Tidal waves?
That's what would happen if this needle hit land, and
Yeah.
the results are pretty devastating. But what would happen if this light-speed needle plunged into the ocean?
Tsunami.
Well, the impact would cause a massive amount of water to rise up into the air.
Dang.
The enormous amount of kinetic energy carried by the needle would explode into the ocean,
oh no.
creating a
Look at them
tidal
running
wave.
from that tidal wave.
Would it set off a tsunami?
I'm assuming, yeah.
Like I said, scientists estimate that this needle would give off as much energy as a nuke. That's
Insane.
over 1 megaton of TNT. This would definitely create a big splash. In 1946, in what was known as the Baker test, a 23 kiloton nuke was detonated underwater.
Ooh.
This created a plume of water 2 kilometers high. Waves close to the explosion radiated out at heights of up to
That is
30 meters.
absolutely insane.
So our needle would probably cause a gigantic plume of water, but it's unlikely to generate a massive tsunami. That's because the needle would create an explosion at a single point in the water. But for a tsunami to happen, massive shifts in water are needed over vast areas. And
Okay.
That's only created
tidal
by
wave,
large
no tsunami.
geological movements like underwater earthquakes.
Okay,
So
I get
the
it.
good news is you don't have to worry about a tsunami like the one in the Indian Ocean in 2004, which was equivalent to 23,000 Hiroshima bombs. Yeah, Mother Nature is a whole lot more powerful
Mother
than
Nature
this
is
needle.
powerful and
Now,
scary.
This is what could happen to our planet, but what would happen if this needle hit you?
Oh no, I don't
What
want to
if
know.
it made a direct hit on a human body?
It's gonna probably
This
just
is a
explode
scenario
us.
where the bad news is infinite, since you'd be the first one absorbing this massive amount of kinetic energy. But the good news is you'd die instantly.
Yeah.
So quickly that you probably wouldn't
Is that
feel
good
it.
or is that
You wouldn't
not
have to
good?
go
I
through all
don't
the
know.
devastating consequences that follow for anyone that survives. Now, there's a fourth possibility that could have far-reaching consequences for the entire world.
What's that?
What if the needle landed on the site of an active volcano?
Oh no.
If this happened, the impact from the needle would create
Massive
an opening for
volcanic
a lot of
eruptions.
pent-up pressure to be released.
Oh
It would
goodness.
disrupt the magma underground and set off a series of massive volcanic eruptions.
I wasn't even thinking
Mass
this.
volcanic eruptions like this could cause an extinction event on Earth, just like
Yikes.
they've done in Earth's past, over and over again. The Toba eruption 74,000 years ago almost wiped out all human beings. Only 2,000 to 20,000 humans survived that eruption and its aftermath.
Ooh, I want to learn more about
Volcanic
that.
ash thrown high into the atmosphere.
I've never
can
heard of
linger
that
there
before.
for 10 years or longer, blocking the sun. This could create a nuclear winter. With the sun's rays
Goodness
blocked,
gracious, so many things
temperatures
could go
drop,
wrong from a
crops
single
die
little
out.
needle.
Would there be any way for humans to survive this catastrophe? It's hard to see how humans could survive 10 years or more
without
our traditional
sun and
agricultural systems thrown completely out of whack. As
horrible.
plants die, herbivorous animals will die out, and carnivores higher in the food chain will lose their prey. So
Oh my
most
gosh, it's gonna
animals
affect
will
us
go
at
extinct
all
as
levels.
our ecological chain collapses. But there is a slim ray of hope. Scientists have found that some parts of the southern hemisphere, like Australia and New Zealand, might be able to produce food in these very specific conditions.
Okay.
Conditions without much
I know
sunlight,
where I'm moving.
low temperatures. But the grim truth is that these areas wouldn't be able to sustain our current global population of
No.
8 billion people. The
Absolutely
vast
not.
majority of humans would die out, but a small minority might remain. A group of humans who would hopefully emerge hardier and stronger.
Rebuild.
I don't know about you, but I'm pretty relieved that the possibility of this tiny needle hitting
Pretty
Earth
slim.
at light speed is close to zero.
Thank
For
God.
once, I'm happy that we're nowhere near being able to produce an infinite amount of energy, and that we don't know
Ooh,
of
what
any
is that?
advanced aliens with these capabilities
Wait,
either.
I think I've seen that movie. What movie
Goodness.
is that?
But we don't need aliens to throw some other fun things down to Earth, because even a small object moving at incredible but not light speeds can unleash dramatic consequences.
Is that a
What
spatula?
if, instead of a sharp and deadly piece of metal, we tried something a little more appetizing?
An apple?
Ever had a freshly cooked steak delivered straight from the International Space Station? Let me tell you, it's not going to be what you expect.
It's gonna be a hockey puck.
You must have so many questions right now. Like, is it possible to fry a steak in space?
What? No, I'm
How
not
long
thinking
would it
about
take
that.
to get that perfect crust? And what side dish should you go with? Salad or mashed potatoes?
I just want to know if we're sending it
This
raw
is
and it
What If.
lands cooked.
And here's what would happen if you dropped a steak from the International Space Station.
What's gonna happen?
It's not every day that a
Imagine
chunk
you could
of
just
meat
get hit in
falls
the
from
head with
sky.
a freaking steak.
Astronauts on the International Space Station have precautions in place to keep anything from dropping down to Earth.
Oh my goodness.
But at the same time, they have to deal with spacesuit gloves that only allow about 20% of their gloveless
Dexterity?
range of motion.
Ugh,
And
I can't
sometimes
stand that. Worst
things
feeling
do
ever.
slip away. Astronauts have dropped everything from a camera to a spatula. They used that thing for space
They've
shuttle
actually
repairs
dropped
and
the
not for cooking,
spatula?
in case you're wondering. So, what
What
if you
happened to
got to
it?
go to the ISS, and on your final spacewalk, a perfect cut of ribeye steak
Fell
slipped
out your
through your
pocket?
hands, completely by accident? All right, before we get to the
Why
part
are
where
we
you're
carrying around
spacewalking with a
steaks?
piece of
We
raw
don't
meat
know.
in your hands,
Yeah.
we need to figure out how to get that meat there in the first place.
Mm.
The International Space Station has been continuously occupied since the end of the year 2000, but none of its visitors have been chefs.
Is that pizza?
Astronauts
Okay.
have all their food pre-cooked here on Earth. Their meals either come ready
Mac and
to eat
cheese?
or can be easily prepared adding water or by heating.
Wow.
Anything that
That's
hadn't
very
been approved
interesting.
6 months before your launch would be prohibited. You would break about 20 food regulations by sneaking raw meat aboard the ISS,
Oh,
let
it's
alone
not.
by dropping that meat from
Okay.
orbit.
It's not allowed.
There is a reason why dropping objects from the space station is a no-go and requires astronauts to report such incidents immediately.
Okay.
But let me get back to that in a moment.
I'm sure there's a lot of
The
rules about it.
ISS is orbiting 400 kilometers above the Earth. What do you say we start the experiment with some closer to Earth cooking? As a side
Okay,
note,
let's do
I'll
that.
eliminate some of the orbital effects from the story. For now. Let's imagine that the steak you dropped would head straight down to the ground.
Where?
What would make it cook? When an item like a steak is plummeting to Earth from space,
Yes.
it moves really fast.
Yeah.
And because of that high speed,
It's gonna
the
get
air
hotter.
in front of it can't get out of the way fast enough. It gets compressed. And when air is compressed, its molecules move faster, releasing kinetic energy. Things get hotter. But
So
would
the
it get
speed
hot enough to
itself
fry
is
the
gonna
steak?
start cooking
Well,
it.
let's see. If you drop the steak from a height of 70 kilometers, it would break the sound barrier.
Oh, dang.
For about a minute, the air around it would heat up to 177 degrees.
That's enough to
If you've
cook
ever
a
cooked a steak, you know that this time and temperature isn't quite enough to cook the meat all the way through.
Not all the way through.
When the steak hits the
Depends
ground,
how you like your steak.
it would still be far from well done.
I like
At
mine
100
well done.
kilometers up, your ribeye would be falling at twice the speed of sound for 90 seconds. That's enough to add a little cooked crispness to its surface.
Okay.
Unfortunately, you'd still be eating raw steak thanks to the sub-zero temperatures of the Earth's stratosphere.
Okay.
Dropping a steak down from 250 kilometers above Earth would get it that lovely seared surface. The falling meat would travel at 6 times the speed of sound, although it would still end up raw on the inside. If the steak fell from even higher above the atmosphere,
I think
its front shockwave would have temperatures reaching thousands of degrees.
Okay.
The meat's surface layer would start to burn off, looking more like flakes of carbon rather than a nice medium rare steak. But even dropping the steak from the ISS wouldn't give it enough time to cook through.
It's still gonna be raw?
You'd be eating a burned lump of protein that's raw red in the center. On Earth, it actually takes some degree of talent to cook a steak like that, if you take away the burning part. Space makes for a horrible barbecue.
Yeah, I don't
unless
think I
you
want a
prefer your
space
steak raw with an ashy aftertaste.
No.
You'd also have to wait quite some time for a steak to reach your plate. If the ISS itself were to fall from space, it would take 2.5 years due to the orbit it's in. Exactly how long it would take a steak to free fall from a height of 400 kilometers is uncertain. In reality, if we turn the orbital forces back on, your steak wouldn't actually make it to Earth.
It would just fly off
Your
into
potential
space?
dinner would go into orbit first. Then, roughly 90 minutes later, it would be flying right back at the ISS at a speed of roughly 28,000 kilometers per hour.
Oh shoot, that's
It
scary.
might not hit the ISS, but if it did, you'd know it right away.
Shoot.
Red meat's bad enough for you on Earth, but in space, it has the potential to wipe out an entire crew.
Oh no. Okay.
If you're still up for the experiment,
Don't drop your
at
steak in
least remember to
space.
sterilize the meat before you seal it in a pouch. And don't take cabbage, beans, or broccoli for a side dish. Those
Why?
foods make astronauts fart, and that's never a good thing in close quarters.
Oh.
The only escape from that stinky situation would be taking a walk in outer space.
And
Maybe
farting
with
in your
no
spacesuit?
spacesuit at all. But
No
that's a
thanks.
story for another What If.
Dang, that was a good episode. All right, today we learned even a teeny tiny needle falling at the speed of light from space can cause so much destruction. Make sure to go show What If some love, and if you like this content, don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you guys later.